Hello and welcome to my tutorial. Today we're going to be learning about how to model a perfect hole in any object without using a boole. Now in this tutorial I'm going to show my two favorite ways of doing this, and each one has its own set of pros and cons. But to begin, we're going to start by looking at the old way of doing it, or not really the old way, but the most common way, which is by just taking a boole and cutting a hole in an object this way. So we just have a cylinder, so I'm going to turn my boole off real quick. We have basically here just a cube, we have a cylinder, this thing right here, and we have our boole. And if I turn my boole on, we just have this cylinder cutting a hole inside of our cube. And if I do the shortcut N plus A, we can see that it shades perfectly and it looks great. It's fine, and if you're just keeping it in this state and this is all you're planning on doing with it, you could probably get away with it. Now the problem is as soon as you want to try to use a subdivision surface on this, because if we do the shortcut N plus B, we can see we have horrible typology. It's just awful. We have triangles everywhere. They're in a horrible shape. We even have some n-gons, I think. And if I turn on my subdivision surface, it just goes to pot. It's just horrible. It's not doing a very good job at all. So let's talk about how we can model this by hand and not cheat it. Let's do this for real. So let's go ahead. Let's close up our subdivision surface, click these two dots and hide it. And let's start modeling this from scratch. So to begin, let's get an object we can start modeling. Let's just keep this simple. Let's just go ahead and click here and build a cube. And now let's go ahead and build ourselves a little bit of a cheat sheet to model our perfect hole. And this is going to be a legit cheat, if you have me. This will be just something to help us actually do the modeling, but the actual product in the end is going to be a full-fledged proper model. So to kind of help explain what I mean, we're just going to go up here to this pen tool, and we are going to grab a end side, and we are going to set this end side to have 8 sides. And then what we're going to do is we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. And then what we're going to do is we're going to press E, and we're going to move it up to the top of the cube, just somewhere here. It doesn't have to be perfect, just at about any spot. Let's middle mouse click and go to a front view. So we can just go ahead and pull this up to about here. Next up, let's middle mouse click and go to a top view. And let's set our end side to be a radius of 50 centimeters. And now here you go, we can see we have like somewhat of a resemblance of a hole here for the top. And this is what's going to be our kind of our cheat sheet, our little guide, our blueprint, if that makes kind of sense, to help direct our cuts on this cube. So all we have to do now is let's select our cube. Let's press the C key to make it editable. And now all we have to do is we're going to do 2 cuts. We're going to do KL on our keyboard. We're going to press K plus L, and this is going to give our loop selection tool, or our loop knife tool rather, and we're going to hold down left shift, and we're going to constrain our cuts to a perfect middle cut right here, and we're going to do another perfect middle cut right here. And now what you can see this has done is it's giving us a perfect X right here in the middle, a perfect cross, or plus sign rather, and this gives us a point in the exact center of this end side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to point mode. I'm going to press spacebar to get my live selection tool. Make sure only select visible elements is checked off so we can select both points in that cube. And now we're going to do the shortcut M plus S, and we're going to drag to do a bevel. Now notice what we have here is subdivisions. We do not want a subdivision on our bevel. Let's go ahead and set this to 0. And now let's set our offset to 50. Now it's the exact same size as our end side. Now that we've done this, we have basically a 4-sided polygon in the exact center. What we want, though, is we want an 8-sided polygon. We want to create an n-gon in the beginning, and we will fix it. Don't worry about that. So to do that, let's just press the shortcut K plus K, and this will give us our knife tool. Make sure visible only is checked off so we can get both sides of the cube. We're going to get the top, and we're going to get the bottom. Sorry about the noise in the background, but we're just going to go through it. And here at the very top, what we're going to do is we're going to do a cut right here. So I'm just going to do left click, start my cut, and I'm going to work my way all the way up to this far edge right here. And I'm just going to click again, and I've made my cut. Now don't worry about being perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. Press escape to finish that cut. So we deselect that knife tool there. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to make it in the perfect center. I'm just going to go kind of be rough and tough and just do up a little lopsided here. We'll do one up here. Click up there again. Escape to finish it. Let's do another cut here. Doesn't have to be perfect. Escape to finish. Click here. Go to here. Escape to finish. So now what we've done is we've actually created 8 points. We put a cut in the center of each one of these sides. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So now comes the fun part. What we're going to do is we're going to head to our snapping tool right here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to enable snapping. Then we're going to head back into it and make sure we have vertex snap enabled. This is very important. Make sure that it is on. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select our cube. We're going to press spacebar. Make sure only select visible elements is checked off. Select these points. Grab the green little triangle here so we're only moving on the Z and the X axis, and simply drag this to the points on the end side right here, and it's just going to snap because we enabled our vertex snap. So it's actually going to snap to those points, the vertex, on our end side. And this allows us, if we drag each one, to have a perfect circle, a perfect n-gon shape that's mathematically correct. So this basically allows us to, I'm just going to grab each point and make sure it's snapped on correctly so it's the perfect shape. And what this means is when we subdivide this, it's going to actually have a perfect circle, and it's just mathematically kind of how it works. But before we do that, we need to fix some issues up. First off, we have triangles on every edge here, and we have triangles here. So it's kind of messy. So you might be wondering, how are we going to fix this? And it's actually super easy once you know how to do it. All you have to do is press K plus K, so K twice, and we just select this top point here, and we go all the way to the bottom, and we select this point here. We click again, and we press escape, and now we're fixing it up a little bit. And before I forget, let's turn off our snapping. The shortcut for that is Shift plus S, and that will turn that off. And let's do a cut from here to here. So now we did horizontally and vertically. Press escape to close that, and we have it. We fixed all this up. Now you'll notice we have a bunch of triangles here. I actually, underneath my filter, have it set to show these triangles that are pre-generated in the mesh. That this is kind of off topic, but no mesh is actually a true quad. There's no four-sided polygons in 3D. They're all technically triangles, but to make it easier for us to work on it in the subdivision surface to use it, it'll actually turn two triangles into a quad, and that's what we actually see. But that's getting off topic, so it's just letting me know that it's having to pre-generate a triangle because this quad is, it's actually an end side here. It's an end side alerter, because basically this cut's not perfect. But long story short, all we have to do is do Control plus A, right click, and do optimize, and that will clean those up for you. Now if you're still seeing those, that means your cut's so wide apart. Basically what was happening is I had a cut going from here to here, and that was creating that weird n-gon shape. So you can see without this cut, we'd have an n-gon. We'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 sides. So you want to optimize to close those points. I'm going to undo that so we can have our perfect quads. And with that out of the way, we have finished our main cut. So all we have to do at this point is we're just going to go to polygon mode, go back to our top view, press spacebar, select those polygons, make sure only select visible elements is off, and just simply press delete, middle mouse click, go back to our perspective view, and now we have a hole through our object. And all we have to do to close this up is go to line mode, press B for our bridge tool, and simply left click and drag. So we go to a line, see it lights up white, we left click on it, we drag down till it snaps to the bottom one down here, and then we are good to go. And we just simply keep repeating this process until we've closed off this entire hole right here. And it'll take just a few more moments. Keep going around, doesn't have to be perfect, just make sure they snap on, and there we go, we're done. So at this point, we can throw this whole thing underneath a subdivision surface right here, and I'm going to click, oh, it's already subdividing it. I'm going to up it to level 3 of subdivisions. So you can see we're actually subdividing very cleanly, no issues. Now it's not holding its shape very well. So I want to show you how you can do that. Now, I want to show you how you can't do it actually first, and then I want to show you a way you can. So this is the pros and cons of this method. We'll call this option 1. It's just option 1. And with option 1, basically we cannot bevel the edges with this and have it come out cleanly right off the bat. So if I double click these lines, I'm in line mode, and then I hold down shift, double click, grab these sides, and these sides, and these sides. We cannot do the shortcut M plus S, and we try and bevel. If we bevel this, or I'm sorry, what am I saying? This is the way you can do it. For the option 1, you can bevel it. So I was actually a little mixed up. You can bevel it this way. So we can go ahead and basically you want to select the points that you want to create a distinct edge for. So I do want some more hard edges on this corner. And we'll just do the shortcut M plus S, get our bevel tool, and drag. And set this to whatever size you want, something about maybe this big. And you're going to get some kind of undefined corners like this. So you can set a subdivision level of, say, 1, which will give you a little bit more definition. It'll still be kind of oddly shaped. So you have to go up to like a level of 5 usually to get a distinct, good beveled corner. It depends what you want, though. Go for the look that you want. You don't have to do it this way. Like, this is art, so definitely direct these bevels and these cuts to look how you would like them. For me, I actually want them a little softer, so I'm going to get this down to maybe like 2 or 1. Or heck, maybe even 0. Now we'll do 1. We'll just have a little distinct bevel. But now you're getting this very good kind of soft subdivision surface edge. And we have a perfect cut inside our object. And it subdivides perfectly all the way down. Whoops. Keep that type at Catmull Clark at the top. We can take our subdivision and pull it all the way down, and it looks fine, and we can slowly increase it and keep cleaning it up. And what I just love about this is our 8-sided n-gon, when we start to subdivide, will subdivide perfectly to the point where when we're at a level 3, it's a perfect circle, really, which is pretty cool. So at this point, we finished with option 1. You now know how to model a hole in an object right off the bat with very little polygons. Now I want to point out the issues though with this method, and the issue with it is we don't have very much control. We've beveled it, but our bevel's locked. Now we can do different types of bevels on it, so I'm going to undo. We can say, okay, we're not going to double click here, holding down left control. We're going to unbevel. Only going to bevel MS these edges here, and we'll do, say, a real tight bevel here, and we'll press E and get here, and we'll do MS again, and we'll bevel like super big right here. And sorry about that noise in the background. And this gives you some flexibility a bit, but it's still rather limiting compared to if you would actually put your own cuts and actually alter and change the shape. So to kind of explain what I'm talking about, what you could do is do like KL and do cuts here. So we can do an actual cut in the center, and it works great here. We can do a cut here, make a defining edge, and we can do a cut here. And we can actually control this on both sides. So I could do another cut, say, here real loose, and do a cut real here, real tight. And I could actually move this cut, maybe pull it in a little bit more. And you can have a lot of control, and you can go as far as go to point mode, grab each individual point, and pull it back. So I can have a real tight cut here, but then a real loose one there, and it's really powerful. The problem is, though, with this particular typology setup we have, we cannot do very good cuts here on the edge. And in fact, I can't do a loop cut at all. So the only way I could do a cut like this is do K plus J, which gives me a plane cut, and you set your plane you want. So set your mode to cut all, set your plane mode to local, and set your plane to XY, and we could do a cut here, and I'll do a cut there, and then we could set this to X or YZ rather, and we can do another cut from this direction. And the big issue with this is look at the mess we get. It's just not a very clean way of doing it. So let's go ahead and undo those cuts, and I'm going to show you guys another way we can set up a hole that we're cutting here to get this going much nicer for us. I'm going to undo those cuts we did, and let's just go ahead, select our cube, go back to line mode, press E for our move tool, double click these lines, double click these lines, these edges here, and get these edges here, here, and here. So now we have all 4 edges selected. Ooh, and we want to get our base. So double click here. And we're just going to do M plus S and do a regular bevel. Let's just leave this one here as the default as our option 1. And the best way to do it is by beveling. Now let's move on to option 2. Let's go ahead and hide this. And let's make a new cube. And this time, notice our end side is already in position. So this is great for us. Let's just go ahead, press middle mouse, go to the top view, press C on our cube, and now let's do the shortcut K plus L to get our loop selection. And now let's do some cuts. The cuts we want to do for this one, instead of just doing 2 cuts, we just did one here, and we beveled that middle piece. We're not going to actually do any beveling on this one. This is all going to be by hand, so this is a pretty cool way of doing it. We're going to make a cut here. For this point, we're going to do it right about here. It doesn't have to be perfect, just within that area. We're going to do another cut here on this side. And then we're going to do a cut here for the bottom of our n-gon. And we're going to do a cut here for the top. Now what we just have to do is we need to do a cut down the middle of our n-gon vertically, or this would be vertically. And we're going to hold down left shift so we can constrain it perfectly in the middle. This part is important here. And we're going to hold down left shift again to do another perfect cut here horizontally. And we're going to do another click, and we did our cut. So now we have done our cuts. We've actually done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total cuts. And this actually gives us 8 points here in the center to work with. So all we have to do is press spacebar, go back to our snapping, make sure we enable snapping, and make sure our vertex snap is on. We select our cube, press spacebar to go to our live selection tool, make sure only select visible elements is checked off, and make sure we're in point mode. Select the points and grab the little green triangle just as before and start snapping these into position. You can even grab like the z-axis or the x-axis just to move on that direction, just to get it to snap. Now you don't want to grab the y-axis because you don't want the points moving up and down. You only want them moving side to side on the x and z-axis just so they snap into position. And again, we've done it. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to grab this point here, snap, and grab this point here, snap. So we just pull them away back in, make sure they are snapping. Let's middle mouse click, back to our perspective view, select our cube, go to polygon mode, and actually let's middle mouse click, go to the top view, select these top polygons, and just as before, we're going to delete them, and just as before, we're going to press B, and we're going to go to line mode, and we're just going to start connecting these bridges and hooking everything up. So we can go ahead, grab from here to here, we can grab from here to here, this top one to the bottom one, this one from here to here, and we're just going to keep working our way around until we have everything hooked up nicely. So now that we have this guy hooked up, let's talk about how this one's going to work. Let's go ahead and name him Option 2. And for Option 2, we can't bevel him actually. I'm going to start off with the thing we can't do with him. If I go to line mode, I press E, we double click. Let's go ahead and actually we're having some issues. We need to optimize. See how it didn't do a full loop? I'm going to do Control A, hold down left control, go to points actually, do Control A in point mode, right click and do optimize. So now we cleaned him up. Let's go ahead, go to line mode, double click, and it's kind of bugging out. I don't know why. Let's just do UL, and we'll just do a loop selection. Aha, right here. It should give us this loop selection. So we'll loop select here, and there should be a side that will give you, it depends on the angle you're looking at. Here we go. Grab that side, and we will grab this edge, and this edge, plus this edge. So now that we have all those edges, let's just go ahead and do M plus S, and let's bevel. And here's what it's doing for us. It is creating a ton of triangles right here. It's trying to fill those in for us. It's messy. It's yucky. It is not good. And if we go to subdivide this is what's going to happen. Let's go ahead and throw this in a subdivider. It's giving us a bunch of yucky typology. If I do N plus A, it's messy. It's not turning out very good at all. So you cannot bevel this. I mean, I want to be honest, you could fix this up by hand, but it's not worth the effort. If you're just going the beveling route, go ahead and use Option 1, where we just did 2 cuts, and I'm just going to go ahead and move it to the side so we can make it look easier. Remember, Option 1 is where we just did 2 cuts, one horizontally, one vertically, and we just beveled that center, and we just worked from that point on. And that is great for beveling because we have fewer points, and each edge, the reason this works is because each edge that we bevel can do a perfect loop around the cube to these points right here. So that's why that works so good, which this one here, we cannot do that because each point is not connected to this corner. It's actually running off here. Now, you could do some cuts and you could clean it up, but it's just really not that great of a way of working. I'm going to undo that bevel that I did. And I do want to point out there is some ways you could fix this up. One way is you could select these corners on each part of the cube. Just these edge corners here, just these ones here and here and here, and add them to the bevel. So M plus S, rebevel, and we'll do a very small bevel. And that actually will clean up the triangles, but the problem is it's still, if we subdivide this, I'm going to grab a subdivision surface, it doesn't shade very well, and it actually warps the edges of our circle. So just not recommended. I don't recommend this at all. So if you do use this method, though, there is a way that I do recommend it, though, and that is to do your own manual cuts. We're not going to bevel with Option 2. So instead, we're going to do K plus L, and we can actually do perfect loop cuts on this, which is pretty cool. So because of how we build our geometry, I think we can. Yeah, we can. We're going to actually, because it is slightly distorting based off of the shape of these polys, what I'm going to do is instead is K plus J, and we'll just get our plane cut. And we'll just do a plane cut about, I'd say, here. And we're going to do a plane cut about right here. And then we'll do change our plane to xz. And we need to do a cut here. Now, I don't want it cutting the center polys. I only want it cutting here. So what we can do is we can restrict a selection. I'm going to go to polygon mode. I'm going to press E. I'm going to do UL, select these, and I'm going to do a shortcut U plus I to invert my selection. So now I'm only going to do the cuts here. I'll do KJ, and let's do a cut here. So we have a nice cut there, and we'll do a cut down here. And now what we're going to do, now that we have those, I think, oh, we have one more angle. Let's go to the very top, Y, X, Y, and we'll do another cut here, and try and make sure that these are even in size. I'm going to do a cut. See how it's kind of even here and here? Not too much. We'll make them a little bigger. So now it's kind of like fitting. It's more even. And we'll do another cut right here. So let's make sure this is even. There we go. We have that kind of matching up correctly. And now if we throw this into a subdivision surface, we got some support on our edges, so we actually have a decent edge. So we actually have a nicer setup going here. And what's so cool is we're having control over everything of this model. This is a much more high control way. So with this method, you can come up with a lot more advanced and more complicated shapes, even though it is a bit more work. So if I select option 2 again, we can also do cuts here. If we do KL, we can actually do a KL cut here because there's no distortion. And I'm going to turn off my snapping. I actually still have it on. Do Shift plus S to turn that off. And we can do a cut like about, right about there. And you can see we got one there. And we can do another cut about right below it, I think. Yeah, if we do another cut below it, it'll even that out pretty nicely. So I'm going to undo those, and let's just I'm just going to show you what I did. I did one cut here, and then I did another cut below it. I gave it a little bit of space, and that's going to kind of soften that edge out. So you have a lot of control in what you do with this. Now at the same time, I think there's a way to get a rounded cut around here. There is a way. Hey guys, I'm doing a quick little edit into this video. So we're putting the old video, what we were just watching, on hold. We were just trying to figure out how to do a ring cut, a loop cut around the outside of this circle. And I do want to point out, before in the video, before I just put everything on hold, we were actually a little bit further ahead than we are right now. We actually had these points deleted here. Or sorry, not these points. We actually had these points deleted here, and we had this bridge together. Well, I figured out that if you want to have a nice loop cut around the edge of this, because if we do KL, it just will not do it. So if you want to have a nice loop cut around the edge of this guy, what you need to do is before you delete these center polys, just go ahead and do, so you select these center polys like we did before, press spacebar, grab your selection, make sure only select visible elements is off, select them, go back to your perspective view, then just simply press I for inner extrude and do a single inner extrude and set it to whatever distance you would like. Usually define your inner radius. You can be specific here with this, which is kind of nice. Let's say we'll do 10. And because we had a radius of 50, we minus 10 now because we just went in 10. That means we're going to have a radius of 40 centimeters inside. So then we can finally press delete, and now we have our extra kind of strength here on the edges. And then we can press B to go to our bridge tool. Then we can go to our line mode, and then we can bridge this up. And, oops, make sure you undo that. Make sure it does snap to this. And this way we actually can get proper round extrusion. We can actually get a true extrusion of these lines to properly connect in, which is kind of nice. So I do recommend beveling it or inner extruding once before you actually go ahead and bridge it like I did before. So I did make a mistake on that. Sorry about that. That's why I edited this in. So now when we go ahead and we grab our subdivision surface and we throw this on, we actually have a little bit stronger of an edge. And what's super cool is if this edge isn't strong enough, you can do KL now, and now you can do a proper Shift S to turn off our snapping. Now you can go ahead and add even more cuts. So you can go ahead and add as many cuts as you want in here, and you can do UL and change the cuts. Now, because we've already done those cuts, you should be able to grab here, press T, and you can actually start scaling and changing the edges of this, and you could do UL, change this. Huge flexibility now since we did that one simple inner extrusion. So that's all I wanted to add. That's it for this quick little edit that I just threw in. Let's head back to the regular video. We just put a cut here, somewhere around there, and then a cut like here. And what's super cool is we can actually get the same cuts on the top and bottom. I'm going to undo that. If we go to Symmetrical cut should be here somewhere. Restrict to selection, preserve curvature. Aha, symmetrical cut. Simply check this on. It's going to cut symmetrically the top and the bottom for us. So the cut I put here and the cut I put here is going to match up perfectly on the bottom. So when I turn this back on, we have a nice, beautiful edge. Let's do the shortcut N. N is in new, N plus A. And here we have our perfect looking edges. So we have a really clean looking cube, and of course we do need to go to our subdivision surface and set this like a level 3 to get like a really clean edge, but you just have a lot of flexibility in this, and I want to show you some of the flexibility you have. You can select at any time, go to line mode, do U plus L. Let's turn off our subdivision surface so we can see a little easier. Let's select this point and this point. Let's press E after we selected those lines. We can pull them down, and we can start, and if we turn the subdivision surface back on, we can see we can control the sharpness of our edge heavily, like super strong. So I'm going to pull this down a little bit, give this a super soft edge on the top, but on the bottom, we're going to have a super hard edge. And now I have the control, because I did it this way instead of that bevel way, is I can select, say, some points. I'm going to select here, here, and here, these 3 sides of the bottom. And I'm going to turn this back on, and I'm going to pull down, or sorry, I'm going to undo. I'm going to go turn this back off, grab these 3 points as well. We need these top 3, so we need a total of 6 points selected. Turn it back on and pull down, and now we're creating a very interesting piece of geometry. We're actually creating a bevel that's starting on the edge, but it's getting hard here. So we have a lot of control with this particular way of modeling, and it's a little kind of harsh here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select option 2, and I am going to just select these points, that point, this point, and I'm just going to pull them up a little bit just to kind of even that out. And you can see we have a lot of control. Yeah, that cleaned it up much nicer. And you can see we have a ton of control in altering the shape, and we can do everything all the way down to grabbing these points right here, pulling these over, grabbing these points here, moving these over, grab this point here, pull it back just to keep some stuff a little even, and you can see we're kind of rounding out the corner. So now we have like a very round corner, then we have a very distinct corner. We can take this and go very extreme with it. I can grab these 2 points here, press T, scale them way out. We can even alter the shape. There should be a slide function, actually. If we right-click and go to slide, these points will actually slide along their axis. We apparently can only do it for 1 set of points at a time. So let's press spacebar, deselect these, go back to the slide tool. Is it only for 1 point? Is it? It's not working. Oh, well, the slide tool sometimes works. Select point, right-click, slide. Dragging? No, it's not seem to do it. Oh well, it's you don't have to do it that way. We can just press spacebar. Make sure only select visible elements is on for this part. Grab some points, pull it over, grab some more points, pull it over, grab this point, pull it back, and this is just me kind of just showing you different ways of kind of setting this up. So you have a lot of potential, a lot of power, and a lot of flexibility in this way of working. I'm going to deselect these, pull them back, and we can have a very distinct edge here. We could do, it comes in hard, but then it leaves very soft. So it's going to be kind of hard on this side, but you can see we have a lot of potential, and I accidentally pulled down instead of grabbing that little triangle there. So that's kind of key. There we go. So now you can see we have a lot of flexibility in both these methods. So now you understand the pros and cons of both. Let's go ahead and turn this guy back on and pull it out and just finish up by taking a look at both options we have. We have option 1. We do only a vertical and horizontal cut, bevel that middle point, and then just go out those new 8 points that we have. We do a cut this way, this way, this way, and this way, so we get those angles, and we have a total of 8 points for our n-gon. And we can just bevel that to get distinct edges, so that's very nice. We can bevel it. And then for our other option here, we do a total of, I think 6 cuts. Yeah, we did 3 on the top and 3 vertically and 3 horizontally, and we cut it only on those n-gon points to fit up with our n side, or not n-gon, our fit with our n side here. We cut this way, there, here, here, and then down the middle, and down the middle there as well. And that basically gave us more control with option 2, because now we have the option to really deform and reshape the edges of our object. So this is basically the end of this tutorial. And as a small little tip, because this little trick that we learned about making an 8-sided n-gon, It's kind of a weird little tip, but I'm going to actually show you guys, if you have to work with a Boole, how to get the best results possible. It's never going to be as good as doing it by hand. Like, look at this. It's just, this is garbage compared to this. This is so much cleaner, so much nicer, so much better. But if you are going to use a Boole, what you can do is you can set your cylinder that you used to Boole out the center to a total of 7 sides, I think. Yeah, for some reason 7 sides works better with this, or actually you can go all the way down to 4 with this. Yeah, 4. Set it to 4 sides, and it'll actually, well, if you set to 4 sides, it'll technically give you 3. I don't know why it works it like that. It kind of does 1 less than what it really is. But if you do, or actually it is a 4 side. What am I talking about? It just kind of registered wrong. And this will actually give you, I think, 1, 2, it'll 3. It'll give you triangles on the edge, but it actually triangles aren't always bad. And these triangles actually work quite well in this particular instance, and it actually does do the trick, believe it or not. So you can actually take this Boole, press C, pull the cube and the cylinder. Which one was it? Yeah, we can take both the cube and the cylinder. Yeah, this is the cylinder. Oh, these parts aren't connected. That's why. I'm going to undo a little bit. Let's put the whole thing back in the Boole, select our Boole. Let's click Create Single Object, and that will connect everything. We can then press C, and now if we turn off our subdivision surface, we see this is what we get. So it's much more messy than what we had before, and you can't do too much when it comes to doing a KL. Yeah, that's pretty bad, but it does fix things up a bit. So if I turn my subdivision surface on, you can see it's a lot better than it was, and we can do a cut here to kind of make some defining points on it. So we can, if you must do this, there is ways around it, and because this is a triangle here on the edge, I think we can get away with actually doing a bevel here. So we could do M plus S and bevel these points, and yes, we can get away with it because it's going to create a quads out of those triangles. Believe it or not, it's kind of crazy. We're creating quads out of triangles, and we're going to go ahead and add a single point to define that edge. No, we can't. If we, as soon as we subdivide at one level, we're going to get triangles again, so we can't subdivide it. Let's set this to a value of, say, 10. Let's go ahead and go to point mode, Control A, and we're going to close up these strange points just by right-clicking and doing an optimize, I think. Yeah, because we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we have an n-gon now on the side. So the easiest way to fix this n-gon is just do K plus K and run a knife cut from, make sure visible only is on, run a knife cut from here to here, and that will actually fix that. So little quick tip, and actually, now that I think about it, let's just do KL, and I think, yeah, I'll constrain a cut to here, and then I'll do KK, select from here to here, and then we'll just do KL, loop cut, hold down left shift, constrain, KK, cut from here to here. And there we go. We're getting some defining edges for our cube. But in the end, still, this is just super messy. I'm just showing you some quick tips that if you must work with a Boole, there's ways of working with it. I just would not recommend it. You can see it's just not turning out anywhere as nice as what these were. But this said, this tutorial is over. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you found it helpful. If you did find it helpful, please leave a thumbs up. If you didn't find it helpful, leave a thumbs down. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please leave a comment in the comment section below. And before you guys go, I want to give a super big special thanks to this guy here, Onion, which that's his website, onion.net, and his name is, I can't pronounce it, I'm not very good with names, but it's Jeongseok. And this guy is the main guy who showed me how to do this modeling technique in the first place through his brilliant time lapse of how to model a light bulb. He goes through and uses this technique in his time lapse, and it's very powerful. And I just wanted to, I thought it was such a cool tip that I decided I wanted to reshare it with you guys. And I added my own little kind of tips and tricks along with that. But thank you guys so much. And again, too, if you found this tutorial helpful, feel free to head to my website right here. I'll have a link in the description. And if you really found it helpful and you'd like to show your support, you can feel free to leave a donation if you'd like. A donation is never required, but always appreciated. Thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial again, and I will see you all in my next tutorial.